24 hours, so I'm glad that you've tuned in. My name is Sloan Rackmuth. I'm the president of Education First Alliance. We're a group of parents, of teachers, and concerned citizens fighting against critical race theory. And we do this, and actually we're doing it in North Carolina, but 26 other states. We do this by training parents, by organizing parents, by training kids how to fight back against critical race theory, by producing investigative journalist pieces, and importantly, by defending teachers who are under assault for refusing to indoctrinate children with racism and stereotyping. So that's what we do. That's who we are. Now, we found ourselves under a protracted smear campaign that appears to us to be coordinated. And I'm going to lay out the details of that. I think all of you guys have a right to know. So as I mentioned, we do produce investigative reporting pieces, and we always like to follow the money. So we've been following the money in North Carolina. A lot of it has led us to entities like the Department of Instruction, or importantly, the State Board of Education. Since we have been reporting on the goings on at the state level, we have been absolutely smeared by a guy named Jamie Falkenberry. But before I tell you about Jamie, let me tell you about the genesis of all this and the connection here. So former Lieutenant Governor Dan Forest, the attack seems to be coming from people in his orbit. And very surprising. I donated 200 hours of my time over the summer, worked for 6 months from here to Wilmington, did everything I could, volunteered, everything to try to get him elected. I still believe he would have been a lot better of a governor than Roy Cooper. And this is why I'm surprised at what I'm going to tell you. But back to Jamie Falkenberry. Jamie Falkenberry is a guy who now works for Catherine Truitt, that did work for Dan Forest, that I knew, and we had a good relationship. But we've been attacked a lot publicly. We've been called frauds, paid hacks, and secret Marxists, things like that, publicly, just because we've been exposing things going on at the state level with respect to promoting critical race theory. One story we did was about exposing a grant, a $1.4 million grant of foreign funding that reportedly came in to the State Board of Education and others to promote critical race theory. This is in 2020. Of course, I'm not accusing anyone of this, but that is when Dan Forest was on the state school board. We have been stonewalled and smeared for bringing this report to you. We want to know, we expect to know, why is a China-linked group paying for critical race theory ahead of a vote at the state level that ushered in critical race theory as policy? We want to know that, and citizens deserve to know that. In fact, Jamie Falkenberry, after we issued that report, called someone high up in the GOP, asked them to get me to stop reporting on this. And then he took ownership of the project. He said he'd investigate himself and then get back to everyone. Now, that's been 4 months ago. I haven't heard anything about that. We've also been very critical of North Carolina Virtual Charter School. It's a school that, quite frankly, is failing children in our state. Our taxpayer dollars are going for it, and it promotes critical race theory. These things are fair game. We ought to be able to go after our government for these sort of things. But a really big surprise came when we found out that Jamie Falkenberry's wife was a lobbyist, and she is a lobbyist for companies that are getting our state taxpayer dollars, and those companies are promoting critical race theory. One of these companies is a preschool company, and on their webpage, they have the notion that babies at 6 months old are racist, and at 2 years old need pretty much anti-racist training in order to be able to play with kids on the playground and not be racist. I mean, this stuff is not even on the margin. It is absurd. And in my mind, you cannot be a lobbyist in an administration that opposes critical race theory and be married to someone who is making money off of these things. Anyway, on the eve, we were going to report that we were filing an ethics complaint. Dan Forest himself weighed in on it, came in out of the woodwork, and he called a friend and said, hey, you know, Sloan Rackmuth is a liar. Everyone here who has power thinks she's a liar. And Jamie Falkenberry has everyone on her side, and she's really up against it here. In an effort to try to discourage us from coming forward we still came forward. We still made that good faith ethics complaint, because we do not think that someone should be on the charter school board without acknowledging it and declaring that on their SEI disclosure forms. And number two, a lobbyist, for critical race theory should not in any way be involved in someone at such a high level. And again, we've been smeared pretty handily. But I'm going to be very careful about what I read to you next. Someone who calls themselves a good friend of Dan Forest's has been, there's no other way to say it, cyber stalking us for the last 4 months, tracking our movements, following our events, seeing who we're talking to, and then going back after us to contact those people, sometimes under false pretenses, contact those people to accuse us of doing things we've not done, to call us, of course, liars, to say that we are of ill repute, to say the least, and then to call us secret Marxists who are trying to infiltrate the conservative movement. This person has completely libeled us and defamed us online, calling us criminals, saying that one of our members is about to be locked up in jail and won't see her child again. We have had many of my national business partners contacted by this person to warn them not to work with us, that we were, again, of low moral character, possibly breaking the law or something of that nature. And again, that we were secret Marxists. This person has caused us a tremendous lot of damage and has tormented us for the last several months. And that tormentor, that alleged friend of Dan Forest, is now suing us in a baseless, meritless, frivolous lawsuit, which is being pursued against our organization by the former chief of staff for Dan Forest, Stephen Walker, a man himself who was the vice chair for the charter school board for many, many years. So we have two former high-level employees for Dan Forest himself, and a supposed friend of Dan Forest that had been trying to silence us, intimidate us, and now completely financially destroy us in a legal attack. We need your help. We need to keep truth telling. We are going to keep truth telling. This is our legal fund. We very much need help now. We find ourselves as an organization in the fight of our lives. And we have been through a lot. We're not going to stop fighting though, don't worry. So since last night, me kind of opening up to all of you guys on social media, we've been very fortunate that several very, very bright lawyers and legal teams have reached out to us in an effort to help us, help defend us, and help make us whole again, if you will. And so I know that I told you that I was going to put out copious amounts of evidence, and I'm going to put out a tape for you guys. I have been instructed not to do that. I'm a journalist. I love to get the information out. You know me already. But I've been instructed not to do this, to keep that information for an eventual legal action that we might consider taking. And I do appreciate everyone coming out. Many journalists from across the country, this is important. They see this, what's going on here in North Carolina, as a bellwether case. They want activists all across the country to start looking up at their state houses to find out who is in this for the power, who is in this for the money, who's in this for getting money for their next election, or who's in it to preserve the backslapping good old boy network that seems to be so prevalent here in North Carolina. These journalists want to expose what is happening here, because this isn't a right or a left issue. This is about the elites and the powerful getting more money and leaving everyone else to suffer. That's the way that I see this. We all know at the district level that we have found that school board members, they don't give a damn. A lot of them, some of them do. A lot of them, they don't give a damn. They just want NCAE to pay for their next election. They just don't want to make waves, whatever it is. We've found that all too many people in power, they don't want transparency. They don't want you to know what's going on. They don't want you to find out what they've been doing. They don't want you to know that they say they're against critical race theory, but they're taking money for it anyway. There are many people out there that don't want this. And unless and until we can expose these people, we are going to have critical race theory for a long time to come. I'm telling you, a law is not going to change it. We have to cut this off at the head. We have to defund critical race theory. We have to absolutely defund it. So I'm asking you guys to help us in our legal fight. This is the fight of our lives. This is a baseless, meritless lawsuit by someone that claims he's a friend of Dan Forrest, who is, quite frankly, we've been victimized by for the last several months. And we're asking you to donate. We're asking you to get involved. We're asking you to join us in finding out why the state school board took foreign money, and we can't find out anything about this. Maybe they didn't take the money. Maybe there's a great explanation. But the reports say that they did, and we would like to know more. We need to hold our leaders accountable. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle they're on. It doesn't matter. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. And thank you for all the help you've given us over the last 24 hours. And we need more help. And please do consider making a donation. We cannot stop fighting here.